What would you do if your career, reputation, and everything you've worked so hard to achieve were at the mercy of one person? This is the story of Sophia, a talented and ambitious employee at Apex Innovations, who faced a terrifying ultimatum from someone she thought she could trust. But when blackmail threatened to derail her career, Sophia made a choice that would not only define her integrity, but change the culture of her workplace forever. A golden opportunity. Sophia had always been known as the creative powerhouse at Apex Innovations. Whether it was brainstorming innovative strategies or leading her team to success, her reputation for excellence was unmatched. She had big dreams of climbing the corporate ladder. And when Mr. Carter, her supervisor, called her into his office with an exciting proposal, she thought her hard work was finally paying off. "I'm putting you in charge of this," Mr. Carter said, sliding a folder across the table. Inside was a project proposal that could revolutionize the way the company operated. It was clear this was no ordinary assignment. It was a chance to shine in front of the company's leadership. "This isn't going to be easy," he warned. "I'm trusting you to take the lead and deliver results that will impress the board. You've got what it takes, but I need you to go all in on this." His tone was firm, but his confidence in her was undeniable. Sophia left the meeting feeling both exhilarated and nervous. This was the break she had been waiting for, but it came with immense pressure. As she pored over the details of the project that night, she couldn't shake a strange feeling. It wasn't just the high stakes of the assignment, it was something else, something that felt off. The whispered temptations. As Sophia dove into her project, she quickly realized just how high the stakes were. Her workload seemed endless, and every hour she spent refining the details reminded her how much she had to lose if things went wrong. But it wasn't just the pressure of the project weighing on her. It was the strange energy in the office. Over coffee breaks and whispered conversations, she started to hear unsettling stories about how some of her colleagues had climbed the ranks. Rumors of backroom deals, fudged reports, and even outright sabotage began to circulate. One day, a coworker offhandedly remarked, "You know, shortcuts aren't really shortcuts. They're survival strategies around here." The comment, though said with a smirk, lingered in her thoughts. It was as if everyone accepted that cutting corners was just part of the game. Sophia shook off the idea, determined to rise on her own terms. But the weight of those words stayed with her, gnawing at the edges of her resolve. The blackmail begins. One quiet afternoon, as Sophia worked late in a conference room, Damien, a colleague from another department, approached her unexpectedly. Damien was known for keeping to himself, rarely engaging with others unless it benefited him. "Sophia," he said, pulling out his phone and placing it on the table in front of her. "I thought you might want to see this." Sophia's heart sank as she stared at the screen. It was a photo of her from a company event a few weeks ago. The image itself was harmless, but the angle and context could easily be twisted to seem inappropriate, especially in a company as conservative as Apex. "There's more where this came from," Damien said, his voice calm but chilling. "I'm sure you wouldn't want these circulating around the office. But hey, I'm reasonable. All I need is a little help, just a few files from your project, nothing big." Sophia was stunned. How had he even gotten that photo? And why was he targeting her? Her mind raced with questions, but one thing was clear: Damien was blackmailing her, and he wasn't going to back down. The weight of the secret. The days that followed were unbearable for Sophia. Damien's threats hung over her like a dark cloud, and she found it nearly impossible to focus. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart sank, fearing it was another message from him. Her work began to suffer. Missed deadlines, sloppy mistakes, and a lack of the sharp focus she was known for. Mr. Carter noticed the change. "Sophia, is everything okay?" he asked during a team meeting. "You've been off lately." She forced a weak smile and mumbled an excuse about the project's pressure. But inside, she felt like she was crumbling. At night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Damien's threats in her mind. His words, "It's your choice," echoed endlessly, but it didn't feel like a choice at all. Giving in meant losing her integrity, but refusing him could destroy everything she'd worked for. The weight of it all was suffocating, and Sophia knew one thing for sure: she couldn't keep this up much longer. Something had to change. Soon. A leap of faith. After days of torment, Sophia knew she couldn't keep going like this. The constant anxiety, sleepless nights, and fear of Damien's next move were tearing her apart. No solution seemed safe, but she realized she couldn't face this alone anymore. She had to take a chance, no matter the risk. Late one night, with trembling hands, Sophia drafted an email to Mr. Carter. It was short and vague, asking for an urgent meeting the next morning. Her finger hovered over the send button as doubt crept in. What if he didn't believe her? What if this only made things worse? But the thought of staying silent was even more unbearable. Taking a shaky breath, she hit send. Relief washed over her for a moment before panic set in. The email was out there now. There was no turning back. That night, she rehearsed what she would say over and over again, bracing herself for every possible reaction. Would Mr. Carter be angry, dismissive, or worse, lose trust in her completely? When she walked into his office the next morning, her heart felt like it might beat out of her chest. Taking a deep breath, she met his gaze and began to speak. The truth revealed. As Sophia began to explain everything to Mr. Carter, her voice trembled, but she pushed through. She told him about Damien's threats, the photo, and the unbearable pressure she'd been under. She expected anger or disbelief, but Mr. Carter listened quietly, his expression unreadable. When she finished, her hands clenched tightly in her lap, waiting for his response. "I'm disappointed," he finally said, leaning back in his chair. Sophia's heart sank. Then he continued, "Not in you, but in the fact that this kind of behavior has been allowed to go unchecked." His words caught her off guard. Instead of reacting with frustration or doubt, he seemed almost relieved. Mr. Carter assured her she had done the right thing by coming to him. "We've had suspicions about Damien for a while," he admitted. "Your courage in speaking up gives us exactly what we need to address this." Sophia felt a wave of relief, but it was quickly replaced by a new sense of determination. She wasn't just protecting herself anymore, she was helping to expose a larger problem. Mr. Carter's words gave her the strength she needed to see this through, no matter what came next. The showdown. The day of the big presentation arrived, and the tension in the room was palpable. Sophia stood confidently at the front, presenting her findings to the board. But halfway through, Damien interrupted her. "Excuse me," he said loudly, smirking. "I think there are some discrepancies in the data she's presenting." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Sophia. But before she could respond, Mr. Carter stood up. "Actually, Damien," he said, his voice firm, "we're well aware of what's going on here. Security has everything they need." Damien's smug expression vanished as two security personnel entered the room. He was escorted out, his career in ruins, while Sophia finished her presentation without missing a beat. The aftermath. In the weeks that followed, Apex Innovations launched a full investigation into workplace ethics. New policies were implemented to prevent future misconduct, and employees were encouraged to speak up about any concerns. Sophia, meanwhile, was celebrated for her bravery. The board commended her publicly, and Mr. Carter ensured she received the recognition she deserved. The project was a massive success, but for Sophia, the real victory was proving that integrity and courage could triumph over fear and manipulation. Sophia's story isn't just about blackmail or office politics. It's about the power of standing up for what's right, even when the odds seem insurmountable. Her decision to act not only saved her career, but helped create a better environment for everyone at Apex. In the end, courage and integrity are always worth the fight.